Is everybody done except me?
Neither have I.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ethan hasn't done it yet?
I've watched 9 twice. My wife keeps falling asleep, so I keep going back.
Schoolboy era.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So many cool things happen in episode 10, Jamie.
Yeah. I'm really excited for it. I'm not nervous. Also, I'm trying to we've been waiting for so long to watch this show for me to finish it in a day. I was like, I can't do that to everybody, you know.
Mate,
Yeah.
I did 7 hours in one go, and it was
boy.
the best day ever.
Oh yeah.
I watched them all yesterday. I think it was done at 6 p.m. my time or something. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I started at 9:30 a.m. and then finished just before 10.
Yeah.
So Rob, have you seen them all?
No, I've seen 9.
9. Oh.
I've started 10.
Have we all seen up to we've all seen episode 8, right?
Yes.
Oh no. Yes.
Thank God for that. I can
With the
speak.
pigeon.
So I guess we
Say
should
again?
say before we
With the
start,
pigeon.
we should just
Is
tell
that-
everybody who's listening, spoiler alert, we've all seen at least 8 episodes of this show. We have to talk about it. That's what we're here to do. So if you don't want to hear about it, turn us off. Thanks.
Don't
Spoiler
click.
alert.
Ooh.
Yeah. The spoiler alarm is going off.
That was a great alarm.
He's calling the hunter.
Oh gosh, I can't believe it's here. Crazy.
Yeah. It's
So,
It's actually-
so should we start at episode 1?
Yes.
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, good stuff.
Sure.
To be honest with you though, it's all a blur. Really, it is.
Yeah, I don't know which episode it's which.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I've seen episode 1 3 times now, so I know what episode 1 is. But the rest of them, I'm I couldn't tell you what episode they were.
Yeah.
It's all one story for me.
That's very
Yeah,
true.
you know what happens, but which
Yeah.
episode is it? No idea.
Definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. Yeah, it's just. Oh yeah, I literally have no idea what's in what episode now. It's I feel like the podling from the original movie has just been beamed into my brain.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking
I'm
of
kind of
Bond,
speechless.
how cute
I know.
is
I
Hup?
love. Say again.
How cute is Hup?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he
precious.
is mega.
Oh,
Adorable.
yeah.
He's got
I
the
was so
bravest spoon.
Oh yeah.
I'm so surprised that he doesn't actually speak a lot of English. I thought they were gonna I thought they were gonna sort of maybe subtitle some of it. So the fact that there's no subtitles at all, he just starts jabbering, and then he gets a little bit of the odd word where he's like, "Protect Deet."
Oh.
it's just I just love it.
I love it too. It makes it more like we're there with him. We're
Yeah.
Deet, or we're whoever's next to him, trying to understand what he's talking about. I love it.
Yeah.
He's so
And
precious.
he's not really the comic relief, which I was really surprised about. He's they take him as seriously as the other characters.
Yeah.
I was
yeah,
so convinced.
yeah.
I was so convinced he was going to be he'd be dropping gags left, right, and centre, and it's just
Yeah.
not that.
I don't know. Hup is a badass action hero. When he went to the Stone in the Wood and he was
Yeah.
just taking out the scale fling, I'm like, holy cow! When did
Oh
when
my
this
God,
little
yeah.
puddling turn into an action hero?
And when he
Do you know-
swings on the rope as well, at the
Oh.
spitter.
His little
Yeah.
Robin Hood moment.
I just love when he looks to see what's going on with Deet as she's sitting in between those Gelfling, and he just starts getting really angry. Oh, I love it. Like Miss Piggy
Yeah,
angry.
he goes from sane to insanely drunk from one drink. He's a cheap
Love
drunk.
it. I just love how he pushes the fizz gig away with his butt. I love
Yeah.
that so much.
Yeah. I love in episode 1 I am totally engrossed in that intro now. When I first saw it, I wasn't sure about Sigourney Weaver's voice, but I've watched it 3 or 4 times now, and it's just when they're telling the story about how the Skeksis have deceived Orgra, and they've sort of bewitched her with the Ori. Like, it's just magical. Like, you get drawn into that lore instantly, and
Yeah,
I just love it.
Yeah,
I love Sigourney Weaver's voice. I've always loved her voice. When she did the what was it, the documentary on the planet? What was it, Blue Planet, or was it Our Planet, or something like that? I think it was Blue Planet. She was the narrator for the entire thing. And if you are ever having insomnia or anything like that, just plug that in.
Yeah.
Her voice is just so soothing.
Yeah, totally.
I tell you what is cool though, is that if you look at that intro, and they've got like they're like statues, aren't they, of Aughra, the Emperor. I think it's Skek Tech and the Chamber. They are actually the models that Weta are producing.
I knew it.
Oh, really?
What?
Yeah, but they're
Yes, I noticed that too.
They're a bronzed version of the actual Weta figures.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Which makes me want them even more.
Now I want them bronzed. I don't want them painted like the figure. I want them bronzed.
Coated in bronze.
That's outstanding.
Any characters that you guys feel like you were kind of like, oh, yeah, what interesting, but now you're watching the show and you're like, oh my God, I love this character. Maybe you still have your favorites, but this character is standing out to you. So
if we're talking episode 1, I loved Mira, and then she died. What the hell?
Sad. So sad.
It's so sad. Like,
that part was the saddest part of the entire episode for me. I'm sitting there watching, Rian's reaction, and you're going, oh gosh, how is he going to save her? Oh no, he doesn't. She's the first one to die.
Do you know what makes it even more sad is the fact that she doesn't actually call out to Rian for Rian to save her. She says the Lords, please help me. So she's actually asking the Skeksis. She doesn't understand what's going on. She's like totally ignorant of the fact that she's like been betrayed. And I just love that.
That's really sad.
And when she goes in, she just goes in of her own free will. She just wanders in. You're like, oh.
Yeah, like she's a superstar. Like she's an honored guest.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then she looks up to
Rian. Very sad. I was very sad.
She's like, the crystal of truth, and then Skek Tech just like casually says, "Yes, isn't it lovely?" and then pulls the lever. It's just like, and I love the fact that the crystal's got that heartbeat. So as it starts charging up, there's like that heartbeat that starts to increase, and like the music in this series is just phenomenal. Like I love the original soundtrack from the movie, but like the guy who scored this, it just feels epic. It feels like an epic.
Yeah.
So did anybody watch it with a sound bar attached to their television?
No. Sadly not.
What?
I should have done.
So
Not fancy
I
like
actually
that, Doug.
got a sound bar just for this, and it amplified every sound, and you could hear the heartbeat in your ears.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Wow.
Yes, it was like you could feel it.
I can understand that because I saw it in a cinema, the first episode, and that was, I wish I could have watched the whole series in the cinema, because like the couple, with the, like you said, the soundtrack and the sound effects, and then, like on the big screen as well, because there's so much to take in.
I know.
It's just incredible.
I love the music as well. Like I've seen a couple of conversations in the group about, I'm not sure I loved it all, but the music, and I feel like as the show progresses, the music gets more intense, and that theme, there's a moment when they're using cellos or something for that theme, and it's like moving right through you. It's just so powerful and amazing.
And it gets
really
darker.
Beautiful.
It feels like it gets darker. The music feels heavier.
Yeah.
As the series progressing, and spoiler alert, as the Skeksis are sort of like, they're devolving to that animalistic craving for essence. Like the music follows it. You're feeling that this darkness is like coming over you, and it's just amazing.
Plus, it's like, it's 10 hours, so it's a lot easier for a film to, if people say, it doesn't stand out as much, but a film's so much shorter, so, it's just stands out more. Whereas, this is 10 hours worth of music, so it's bound to not be all like, super epic instant classics. It's a lot of time to fill, isn't it?
Massive amount. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, right? I watched all 10 hours in one day, and at no point did I like zone out. No point was I bored. Like you just gripped the entire way through. Like you're just like, what, and like nothing's predictable. There's so much stuff that happens where I was just like, oh my god, that's amazing. I didn't see that coming.
Like you think but no.
Yeah.
Everything was a surprise.
I think the greatest thing for me is that, I mean, I love the original film, but I feel like in the original film, the storyline is sort of the least interesting part of it in a way. That it's just a very basic story. It's just, the storyline is fantastic. It's so intricate and it really gripped me. I thought I'm just going to be gripped by the visuals and everything, but I'm also gripped by the story as well, which I wasn't expecting to that extent. It's just fantastic.
There's a lot of drama. It's like when I read the review saying, oh, it's like Game of Thrones but with puppets, I was like, what do you mean it's like Game of Thrones? It's that idea of you're just watching two characters talk for like 15 minutes and you're not bothered about anything else. You're just totally engrossed in what's happening.
Yeah.
And it can be about anything.
Skipping ahead to when Celadon is sort of proclaiming herself All-Madra, and all the Madras are around her, and Farah's like, no, this isn't going to happen. Like, that scene is so intense. Farah was so like, no, we're going to stand up for what's right. You can't do this. And, like, that scene to me, it could have been in Game of Thrones. Like, those weren't puppets. Those were living, breathing, like, things in that space. And Farah's like, you saw her, like, her astonishment and her looking at the rest of the Madras, except for the other one who agreed with her, like, what are you guys doing? Don't you see what's happening? What are you doing? We cannot let this happen. It was just, it was gripping. It was amazing.
I hated Celadon. Oh my gosh, I hated her.
She's a bitch.
No way, right? Literally, Celadon for me, she literally went from like mediocre, like bystander character to just number one instantly. Within episode 7, it was like a turning point. Like she goes from being the All-Madra's daughter to like ultimate supervillain.
True, but still, she's a bitch.
Perfect. It is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it is perfect. Agreed.
Even her physical transformation when she put on the new crown and the dress and oh my god,
right.
I hated her even more.
But literally, I've got to get this out of my system because I've literally been holding this in. My wife is like, just James, stop talking about it. Like episode 8, that moment when she goes into the castle and she's like trying to beg for mercy for the other Gelfling. She decides that she's gonna try and win the freedom of the Gelfling, and the Skeksis are just not having it. Right, that took me back to 6-year-old James sat on the couch, scared to death by the original. I'm a 30-year-old man, and it scared the living hell out of me when they all grabbed her.
Yeah.
And they're just
when they drag her away, right?
And she's just like, the moment when she says, "Oh, have mercy," and they just look at her, and none of them talk. They just all grabbed her. That was absolutely sublime.
It was great because it was like it was like what they do to the Chamberlain in the film as well. They just like basically ripping a costume off. And
for me, it's 10 times worse because you don't see it coming. Like they're up to that point, they're mocking her, and Alice Dinning as the ornamentalist. I mean, I hated the ornamentalist in the original, but she's just the way she's mocking her, and she's like, "I'm the All-Madra," and all this lot.
Oh,
and then
and
then it's just they grab her, and it's just instant fear. Like it's horrendous. And then,
it really is.
And then he drags her out by her hair. Like it's horrendous, absolutely horrendous, and brilliant at the same time.
Yeah, but it does leave a scar.
It's a shocking visual, out of entire series that has shocking visuals. That's one of the more shocking ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But
I just think
but
it's interesting to see her character. Like, you see her sort of. We're seeing what's happening. Her clan and her Gelfling people are seeing what's happening, and she's in this like other space mentally where she's like, no, it's someone else's fault. It's not true. It's not true. It's just crazy to see that. Like, even when she's in prison and she sees Brea, she's still like, oh no, this is your
And
fault.
she still says
Yeah.
it's her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I love the fact that she's kind of like up to that moment, she's so confident, and this is a puppet, and yet on her face, you can see her devolving to the little girl again.
Yeah.
And as
Yes,
she realizes, and when the general says, "But we are draining Gelfling," and it's like that realization of suddenly she's a lamb amongst lions,
Yeah.
and it's just absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and when they say that to her, all of a sudden you see her face and you realize she's in the middle of these things. She's in ultimate danger right now. Like, they just look at her as like, and he says, take it away. He doesn't even refer to her as whatever. It was just like, take it away, you know?
He says, no, it's worse than that. He says, drain it.
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
Drain it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's my favourite scene in the entire series.
That's pretty good.
I've watched it about 20 times. It's immense.
I also really loved the moment at the end of episode 5 when the old Mordred confronts Gexis, and you're like, yes, go on.
yes.
And that was so Game of Thrones when it just suddenly takes her out. Like, oh, so
That was
good.
really sad.
Definitely.
And it's the first time we've seen Gelfling blood, if I remember
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Pink
It's
blood.
pink.
Pink blood. Yeah, that was
It's pink
that
and
was amazing.
shiny.
Yeah.
Pink, shiny
It's-
unicorn blood.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Oh hey, what episode was it when they went to the Circle of the Suns?
Episode 7.
7.
7?
Is that episode 7? So who was the Gelfling that came in and was like hitting on Brea?
That
lost
was
his name.
Theo James's character.
Yeah. He
Wreck-
looked just
Wrecker.
He looked pretty
Wrecker.
cool, actually.
Yeah. There was a sexy
Rakier?
appeal about that Gelfling, I have to admit. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but there was something about him that was like smooth and like,
Well, he was
all right.
definitely suave, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
He looks
Maria was loving
puppet
it.
looks so-
But the one thing
puppet looks so-
sorry.
So, I was going to say the puppet looks so much better in the series than the promotional photo.
no.
Like all the coloring and the markings on his face, they just totally didn't pick that up with the promotional stuff.
No, the promotion pictures aren't really the pretty ones.
No, they're
It's
not.
like mugshots.
They're pretty
really.
terrible, actually.
Because they're Doosan clown, aren't they? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Doosan?
Yeah.
Which one's got?
Doosan, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So and I like that. I love that bit with the hunter, where he just comes in and just chucks that guy off the cliff. I mean,
Yeah, so can I talk about that scene real quick?
Sure.
yeah,
So-
sure.
So the hunter and him have this exchange. He throws the other Gelfling off the cliff, and then he smashes that guy, and he like hits his head on the ground, and then that's the last we ever see of him.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
He does-
the other Gelfling says, hey, they're at the Circle of the Suns, and then the hunter goes that way, and we don't see him anymore. I don't even see him at the Battle of the Stone in the Wood.
No, and we also don't see the woman that takes him there. She's not there. So obviously it's implied maybe the hunter got rid of her when he got to where he wanted to go.
threw her overboard.
So I want to know if he survived that encounter with the hunter.
Possibly. I mean, it doesn't look like he kills him. He looks like he's just knocked him out.
Yeah, like he just knocked him out.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does look like
I
it.
think he'll be back if we get more.
I mean,
I
there's so
think
If it
many-
makes you
so.
feel better, if he did die, he's not mad about it.
Well, he did say he
that-
wasn't gonna.
I loved that. I loved all of those responses. I loved how cool-headed, if I'm saying his name wrong, Wrecker was with
Wreck-
the hunter is fucking scary.
Oh yes.
Yes.
But then you have this Gelfling who's like, sure, bring it. I'm ready to be one with my planet. Like nothing you could say could like this was the ultimate hippie, you know, like he was just cool and by the numbers.
And what's interesting is he's very that ideology is very similar to the hunter himself. So there's almost like this standoff where the hunter is trying to get information, but he almost like respects this Gelfling for his beliefs because he's not you know, the hunter threatened to kill him, but he's like, I don't care. We're all from Thra. You're not from Thra. You know, when I die, I return to the world. Where do you go when you die? And it's he's almost bested.
Yep. He's prepared his soul for that meeting. So we talk about the hunter. How about when that dude was screaming through the trees in that scene?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Cow. You know, and we were all, before the series came out, we're like, oh, look, a Skeksis is running. That was cute. No, they don't just run.
No, he's amazing, actually. He's so scary, but
he's
so great.
Again, he kind of stands out from his design, the way he moves. Like you can tell
he even walks differently than the rest of them. He walks differently. He uses his arms differently. He's completely different than they are.
Well, I think
his back arms are really long compared to the rest.
Yeah, they are. I think the reason he stands out is because all the others clothe themselves with layers and layers and layers of clothing, whereas you can see his limbs. So he wants to be able to move about, and I think that's why he looks and moves. He looks and moves so differently, because he's not like weighed down by the carapace and all this clothing and this lavish like luxury ornaments. It's just him.
Yep. Talking of clothes and Skeksis, how cool was the Skeksis spa day?
I love those
chilling in the spa.
Oh my
and I love the fact that Augur just casually puts her eye in the bathtub.
That's concerning, though.
Pretending that she's washing it.
Yeah.
What's under there? And I think also the bit when the Gorman was releasing himself. There's like 3 streams.
No, not the pig.
Yeah, that was gross. That was really gross.
That is such a cool, like that whole part where the Chamberlain returns to the castle and they're just like Gelfling are just missing, and they're like it shows sort of like how aggressive the Skeksis are, because it's just they're like the Gelfling have just like there's like clothing everywhere, and there's like bits of sword and bits of helmet, so they're just literally like snatching these Gelfling up. It's
And
so
that one
good.
scene where there's a Skeksis, I can't remember which one, he's just dragging off a dead Gelfling. And it's just dragging on the ground there, like just like it's nothing. It's just really scary. And the scene where they're talking about how many Gelfling, or about using Gelfling for essence, and I don't know if it's Skeklak or what Skeksis it is, but they have this realization, like, you're seriously about to do this to the Gelfling, like you can see even other Skeksis, like they're turning into something even worse than what they are. They're turning into these animals. It's very scary sort of digression that they go through.
Well, do you know who was the most shocked about that? It seemed to me, the Chamberlain.
Yeah,
when he goes into the feast and they're talking about it, and the Chamberlain's like, hold on, wait, where's the order? We needed to have order, and you guys are just throwing that out the window.
Yeah, I love
like the most shocked.
And it all derives, it all filters down from the Emperor and his. I love the fact that they wrote this in, like his fear of dying, and that he will do anything that needs to be done to survive. We do it, and that trickles down, and it's great because it itself is like a visual representation of how the darkening is spreading across the art, because it all comes from one place, and even though he's absorbing the darkening, like it's trickling down, and it trickles down into the others, and everything's getting corrupted along the way. It's just
yeah.
And
And the Emperor
will
also
also
10 yet, and episode 10 really shows all of that.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to get crazy. Jamie, I can't wait to see it.
We can't talk about episode.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Ethan? Ethan, what were you saying?
Oh, I don't remember.
You said something about the Emperor.
When he snapped his claw off, I felt sick when he was at the
Oh,
table.
Yeah, that was
gross.
disgusting.
That was gross.
That was amazing.
It was-
No,
I felt ill. It's like, oh.
like I have a genuine fear of nails. So when that happened, I was oh my god, I needed a break. That was oh my god.
Roxy has a fear of nails. All right, interesting.
No,
one
like,
thing that one thing I'm really, really impressed with is that it feels like every Skeksis has his moment. Like the Scroll Keeper, like me and Ethan talked about this. Like he's basically non-existent in the original film. Like he has a couple of scenes where you kind of see him there. Same with like Skek Shard and the Ornamentalist. They're there, but you don't really see a lot of them. But like I could have easily just sat and watched like 10 hours of the Scroll Keeper. Like
He's
Neil
awesome.
Sterenberg has done an amazing job with him.
Oh yeah, who's his voice?
Yeah, they've developed
Neil
his-
Neil Sterenberg. It's also the puppeteer. It's the same guy.
Wow, yeah, I think that might be my favorite.
He's Rhea.
Skeksis.
He's Rian's puppeteer as well.
He's so charismatic. The Scroll Keeper is absolutely fantastic. I love him.
What do we think of the heretic?
I love him. I love him. I love him. I love him.
He's so awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't know.
I was so shocked. I was not expecting that at all. And
No.
I think I kind of like him if you just think of him as being insane, but it just felt, at first it just felt a bit out of place. It just felt a bit too silly, but I don't know. Maybe when I watch it again, I'll be more on board. But I think if I just think of him as is just insane, that's why he's like that.
So I absolutely love the heretic because a while ago, and I think I asked Ethan this question a long time ago about what if there was a Skeksis that was walking the line, that was like, it was not, he was not like the other Skeksis, he was more like the Uru. And we were like, oh no, well they wouldn't be the Skeksis then if they were, that. But it shows that it's definitely true. In fact, both, I think, the heretic and Urgo were both of those walking the line, and that's why they were able to get along so well.
Yeah.
Great.
They were more closely aligned in their beliefs than the other counterparts.
No, you're right. The puppet show did say that the Uru, the mystics, rejected Urgo as well. It wasn't just the Skeksis rejecting the heretic.
Mm-hmm.
I missed that.
I think I
Love
agree
that
with
puppet
Rob
show, though.
because I felt that as up until this point, episodes 1 to 6, the tone had been getting increasingly darker, and you get to episode 7, and I was like totally blindsided by it. Like I was like, oh my god, what the hell's this? This is like tonally completely different. I don't know if I like this. And then it goes 8, 9, and 10. It goes way darker again, and I was like, I don't understand why they've done this. So I rewatched it today, and it's better the second time round. I actually enjoyed all of that bit because the way I found it was easier to view it was it's a stopping point. It's a point for us to breathe and relax, and then when you come to episode 8, you're shocked again.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very true.
It's better the second time round, and I actually laughed.
They were a funny double act. I did actually find them they bounced off each other really well. They were funny.
I mean, when Urgo's trying to speak, and he's just literally like berating him, like, "Come on, just get it out."
I love that at the end of the day, the heretic is still a Skeksis through and through. He can't help but look at the podling Hup and say, bring your slave too.
Your friend's slave.
That was really funny. That was really funny.
He didn't mean it negatively or badly. He's just like, oh, you brought a slave too. Okay.
Yeah. I also didn't,
right?
I also didn't pick up on the coloration either. So Ergo is black, right, or grey, and the heretic is like albino. So even in their colouring, they're completely opposite. I was just like, oh my god, I was just looking at them like, wow, that's a grey mystic.
It totally is.
Yeah, I liked that.
But I loved it.
And I absolutely knew that the archer was going to do, not necessarily how he did it, but I knew he had to do it in order to win.
Yes, agreed.
I knew that was going to happen, but how it happened was still very cool.
To end the hunt.
Dun, dun, dun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I did.
I can't remember what episode that was in. Crap.
Oh my god, yeah, I don't even know.
Did I just blow something? Shoot!
I think you did.
Well, that's when he's talking with Agra, right? That's got to be in episode 6. It's episode 6.
No, I don't think it was.
When Agra tells him you need to sort of confront him.
Let's not.
We're just going to barrel over that. Yeah, you're right, Jamie. Yeah.
Nothing else. But what did you think of the puppet show? I quite liked it. I liked the way it was just so
Puppetception. Yeah, puppet show within a puppet show.
Yeah, it was really.
Yeah,
I liked that. It was fun.
Do you know what? The problem I had with that the first time round is I wanted to see that visual. So I wanted to actually, one of my things on my list to see in this series was to actually see the Urskeks. And when it was like the puppet show, I was like, oh, okay, we're not going to see, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't that it's not that it was bad, it was just I kind of wanted to see that fully performed.
Like fully happen.
And then it was like, oh, I'm not going to get that. And then when I watched it the second time round, I enjoyed it a lot more.
Well,
because we get so much more.
The strange thing about the puppet show, I think, as it relates to Sigourney Weaver's opening, is Sigourney Weaver's opening, because you don't know who she is. I mean, she's credited as a myth teller. So what you're seeing, you feel like is fact. This is how it all happened. Actually, that wasn't true. So then you see this puppet show sort of retelling the story, but I can't really remember what the story that they were telling is. Kind of a blur, so I have to watch it again. But it's kind of like, so then what we heard in the beginning wasn't true. So it's kind of like, well, then just tell us the true story in the beginning. But at the same time, if we're moving through the story as if we were Gelfling a part of the Resistance, it sort of makes sense because that's all they've known. So that's the history that they know.
But also, you have to remember as well is that that's mimicking the original film.
Yeah.
So in the original film, the opening, you are lied to. You're told that, the crystal just cracks and these two new races appear. Well, you know it's actually because one of those races is the ones that cracks the crystal. So it's I totally understand what you mean. It's telling you one thing when in actual fact that's not entirely true. It's true from a certain point of view.
Obi-Wan.
But you're really going on the same adventure as Brea, Deet, Rian, Kyla, Naya, Gurjin. Like you know what they know, and you also don't know what they don't know. And that's when the puppet show happens. You're like, oh, okay, I see. It's really like you're on the journey with them.
Yeah, true.
The puppet show kind of solidified things that we had theorized about a little bit. Things that we were like, well, I wonder if this is what actually happened, and then it kind of goes around and it kind of solidifies that. And I don't think it was contradictory at all, but I know I'd seen some comments about how some of the things were contradictory in the show. But I think that some of the people's examples were kind of
like that at all. I think what that is people that have read books, and those books say one thing and this says another. At the end of the day, this is now canon. In my eyes, this is now canon.
Absolutely.
Oh, totally.
You have the series, you have the film. Like anything else is just is a society thing.
Yeah, I think we can safely say now the James Lee books aren't canon because it contradicts what happens in them. So for me, yeah, I think that's their class is definitely not canon now.
Group, who's your favourite out of the three leads now? Bria, Rian, or Deet?
Wow,
Bria.
that's a tough question.
Deet.
Brea.
Rian.
Bria.
I'm definitely for Bria. Or
Roxy,
however
you say
Bria.
Rian?
I
What?
would
Are
have
you sure
said
about that?
Brea all the way up to
Yeah.
episode 1
Just
through
playing.
9. I would have said Brea up through episode 9, but
Oh
10
no! Oh, don't.
Spoilers. No,
No, but-
I was before going in. I really liked Deet's aesthetic. I really like. I've totally changed. I'm so Brea now. Like, I don't know. I just think she. I think it. The puppeteering for Brea just is above the other two, and that's nothing against the other two puppeteers. I just think she's so much more emotive in the face. Like,
Mhm.
there's so many
True.
instances where it's just incredible. I think that whole puppeteering and Anya Taylor-Joy has done a great
Her
job.
voice, yes. I could follow Brea to the ends of Thra. I love
Okay.
Brea.
I do say though, I do think that they are all three characters have really unique perspectives. Where you have Deet coming from underground, what her journey in this show is very different than Rian's journey, and Rian and both Deet's journey is very different from Brea's, who who is monarchy, who is sort of the esteemed. She's like Vapra. She's daughter of the Almadra. So they're both sort of on this journey of becoming woke, to what's really going on. And Deet is in a lower form, like she's sort of the lowest of the low Gelfling, and she's sort of experiencing like, oh, other Gelfling don't like me based off of where I'm from and how I look. And I feel like
sad.
she's, so I like them for different reasons, but I will say I definitely think Brea feels the most alive.
She does.
True,
Yeah.
very true.
And I think she's
suppose
sort
also
of got the most dynamic. I feel like she's the most dynamic one. She's the most go-getting one as well, which I quite like. She's just really, I don't know, it's just a real spirit to her. Like, you just feel like she could take on anything.
Yeah.
I feel like it's her story though. Like, as I was watching them, I really felt that as it progresses through, like, kind of Deet and Rian get sort of lost in this. Like, there's some episodes where Deet's just sort of there. Like, she's like, I love her design and I love her character, but she's kind of just there in the background. And I was kind of like, I don't know, I was kind of a bit like, oh, okay. Like, I was so convinced that going into this, we'd have the first episode where it introduced all three, and then you'd have one episode which is Brea, one episode that was Rian, and one that was Deet, and then they'd come together and they'd go on the adventure together. But it's just not that at all. Like, the editing process for this must have been an absolute nightmare, because you're just going backwards and forwards between all these characters in different places, and it's just harmonious. Like, it doesn't feel choppy.
I think it kind of fits Deet's character with her because she is really quiet and really shy. So it would make sense that in that situation she would like step back and keep to the back. She's a very meek character, like in just a nice, sweet way, but she's not that confident, is she really?
I totally agree with you. I meant that from the sense of like her actual story.
Oh yeah.
Well, her story,
because-
I think. Go ahead.
No, go. You go ahead.
Well, I just feel like her story up until the moment where she gets the power from the tree, you kind of feel like Brea has a journey she's on, a journey of discovery. The world isn't what she thinks it is. She comes from a powerful place. She discovered lore. She has this journey that she knows she has to go on. Rian's also there. He's been accused of murder. He's trying to kind of let everyone know, again, life in the castle is not what people think. And then you have Deet, who's kind of like, first, like, okay, go to the Almadra and tell him what happens. That really never happens. And so for a while, she's just kind of there until she gets her power, or get whatever power that is, from the tree. And I feel like maybe now I know what I still don't really know what her piece in the puzzle is right now. But
Yeah, I think I just wonder if it's because maybe D is aimed for people that have never watched The Dark Crystal, because it's her journey is very much like, oh, look at this world, oh, what's this? Or, you know what I mean? She's discovering it all, whereas we already know it, and I wonder if that's why I don't connect with her on that much.
Yeah, she's the introduction to Thra, definitely.
Hey guys, I have to take off. I have to go fix an air conditioner.
Oh.
So I just want to say, hey, thanks for letting me join you guys and talk about this for a little bit. I really love doing this, and I can't wait to do it again.
Okay.
Oh,
see you later,
Yeah.
buddy.
Take care.
Stay cool, Doug.
All right. Bye-bye.
Ba-dum-bum.
All quiet.
Ethan, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite moment or a favorite episode yet?
My favorite moment is just lame. It's just when the heretic was more wonder. I'm like, oh my god, he is amazing. I actually want to rename this show More Wonder.
I love it where he keeps going on about the surprise, and then it turns out to be an opera.
The opera reveal.
Oh, I'm so glad that they had a mystic, humming like the original. I was worried that there wasn't going to be any humming the whole thing.
Yeah, I actually really like the Archer. I think he's a really interesting character, and I really liked the fact. Same with Ergo as well. Like, we all know what mystics look like. Like, they they look similar, but there's very subtle differences. And I felt like they kind of wanted to just push it a little bit. And like with the Archer, he can't, his face is like an arrowhead. He's a lot more streamlined. And I just really liked that. And I like the fact that joke where he keeps firing the arrows at Aughra. And she's like, couldn't we have just done it? Did I have to walk all the way here for you to tell me to listen to the tree? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just loved all that. I thought that was great.
I will go no further.
Yeah. And I just felt, I don't know about anybody else, I felt genuinely sad when Aughra was talking about how she can't hear Thra, how she can't hear the song.
Absolutely.
And I was just like, it was breaking me. I was just like, and like Donna Kimball is like totally just owned Aughra.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
oh,
I
yeah.
know, right?
She's
The
just
voice
like,
is just spot on.
And my wife is not remotely interested, right? But she was literally watching it like over my shoulder, and she just said, "Is that the original voice?" And the moment she said that, I was just like, "Yeah, Donna Kimball's nailed it."
Yeah.
If my wife thinks it's the original voice, she's done something well. You know what I mean? Like, I just loved it. And
I was surprised how touched I was with Aughra scenes. Like, I'm not a very emotional person when I watch things, but I was tearing up. Like, I felt it. I was choking up, and I never say that. And I mean, like, give Donna Kimball or Kevin Clash or the puppet herself an Oscar, because I was sold. Like, holy crap! I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna cry. What the hell? Hey,
it's really
blew
good.
me away.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I think I think because Aughra is such a kind of like quirky character in the film, so I was kind of expecting that dynamic or that type of person, and so they kind of just went completely different with her. They like, what has she gone through to get to that? And you kind of see flares of that through it. But yeah, it's totally emotional.
She's a lot more loving in this, isn't she? A lot more.
I did like her dance break though.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Her what? I'm sorry. Oh, her
dance break.
Dancing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I loved when they all appeared in the dream state.
Yeah.
In the chamber of the crystal. I just loved that scene. That sort of where dream fasting united them into this consciousness. And I love the idea that Celadon also was brought into that consciousness. And even at that point, she was like, no, these are lies. Yeah, like it was just, and Aughra putting her hand on her and like, be gone. I loved that moment.
Yeah. And I
What
think that's so
have you done to my daughter? I love it.
I love the fact, and also so clever on the writer's part to create that, to explain what dream fasting is. How do they? Where does this power come from? Oh, the dream space. Instantly, that's it. You only have to say that, and you don't have to explain any more. I totally understand. You know what I mean? Just you don't need any more explanation.
Yeah.
But I just love the fact that that opening line, they just, she says like the Gelfling are the most loved of Augur's children, and it's just like get a warm and fuzzy inside.
I have a question. In the moment where Celadon comes out in the Skeksis-like costume, and then Farah takes flight, it looks like at that moment Celadon has these powers where she's crashing Farah into the walls, and I didn't really understand at that moment what was happening. I was like, what's happening? Like, does she have power? What's going on right now?
That confused me. I thought, did I miss something? Did she have a stick in her hand that I didn't notice or something? Because I thought the same. It looked like she threw her out of the sky, but I don't know how she could have done that.
No, I'm confused too. I still don't really understand that. Because the Skeksis didn't give her those clothes. She commissioned those clothes and put them on. Even the Skeksis didn't know about them. So I was like, why did you get powers of the Force suddenly? Like, you're mine, bish. Like, bam. Like, I'll have to rewatch
I didn't even notice that. Yeah, I didn't even.
Oh yeah,
she threw her out of the sky.
Yeah, she just ripped her out of flight. Essentially, she crashed her into the wall without doing anything except for looking up at her.
Did it remind you of Legend when she puts on the dark dress in Legend, the film?
Oh shit!
Yeah.
It reminds me of that.
Yeah, definitely. The black lipstick, that's sold it. She also
that's when she looked cool.
She put fake wings on.
Yeah. Wings.
They're like mechanical wings. Like, you know what I mean? They actually attach like a box to her.
An eyeshadow. She went the full works.
Did you guys catch the mention of Ronip in the show?
No. What?
It's not
when?
10.
When they're preparing for the trial by air, Farah and is it Lacid? They're discussing their plan, and she says, "I'm going to go through Ronip's pass." So it's a location.
Like
Whoa.
Yeah, true.
I hope that's just the name of the tunnel.
Also, did you see in one of the visions when it looks like Brea is holding baby Kira, and where she's running through the forest?
Mm-hmm.
And is that Rian?
No, that's not true, is it?
Because that's not Jen on the crystal healing it, is it? It looks like Rian.
But the shard doesn't go in. It looks like it's not the right shard.
Yeah.
To me.
Ooh.
Oh my god, I totally missed this. Jeez, I zoned out.
James, how dare you?
I just thought it. Oh my god, I can't believe this. I genuinely just thought, they're just recreating Kira and Jen.
Well, I think what's happening is they're telling them that there's a connection. There's a connection between these people.
Well, hang on, Jamie. You're saying that it's Brea holding the baby?
Yeah, well, it
looks like
it looks like Brea holding the baby for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And sat on Emperor's throne, like throbbing with darkening stuff. Like what?
Also,
my mind is just blown.
James, you missed that? How did you miss that?
I just zoned out because I was like, they're just recreating what we've already seen. Oh my god, I'm an idiot.
No, I noticed it because, Jamie, Doug, and I have looked over Kira's mom screenshots in very close detail. So when I saw Brea in the head coverings, I'm like, oh, that is supposed to be Kira's mom. And because Kira's mom in the original film doesn't, as far as I can tell, have any hair. She just has head.
No, it's covered. Yeah, she's totally covered.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was very, very interesting. That to me screamed Kira's mom and Kira. My question is, what does Brea name Kira? Because Kira is her podling name. I wonder if
Yes.
she's going to name her
Yeah.
Tavra for her dead sister, or what's she going to name her?
That would be cute.
If she names her Celadon, so help me.
I
I will
think she
rage
will.
quit the fandom. Like, see ya.
There
Just
is one scene in episode 7 where they're talking about the crystal cracking, and is it Deet says, "Well, where's the shard?" I
Yes.
thought that was an interesting moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting moment.
Yeah, hopefully this is set up for the next season, which they better announce soon because this needs to happen.
They better announce that season. They better announce season 2.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do this, although they just canceled the OA, so who knows?
I woke up this morning like, yeah, I'm ready for season 2. Where is it? Oh, yeah, it's not there. Yeah.
But also,
Wait.
when the part when Brea has her little journal or diary, when she's flipping pages, you see, I'm not sure if it's Jen and Kira the drawing, or if it's Rian and Brea, or what.
Does look like it might have been Jen and Kira. It looks very much.
It looked to me. It mostly looks like Jen and Kira.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Not
that
bad.
was also like, hey, oh my god.
What episode was that? Was that
Yeah, I
10
missed
or?
that. I mean,
No, it's not.
It's
I
not
don't
10.
think it's
It's
10.
actually. It's
It's
not.
what I-
It's
I think it's episode
someone else
6. It's right at the end when they're all around the fire and Brea's
I
just
need a-
flicking through.
Around the fire. I fell asleep during that. Whoops. I know what you're talking about. I closed my eyes for a minute. I was
Call
like,
yourself
oh,
a fan. I can't comment. I take this slow. I have to rewatch the whole series now. My life is over.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that as well now. Pay much more attention than just oh my god, look at this. Oh my god.
Just
So
watch
public
it.
service announcement. When Madra Argot is talking about 30 years ago during the Aratham Wars and how a hero named Ordon, saved the day, saved Stone in the Wood. That is going to be the story that is going to be in the comics, the Age of Resistance comics.
Oh, wow.
So make sure to pick that
really?
up in a couple weeks. September 27th, I think. Let me check.
It's around that
So
time.
yeah, keep that in mind. No, September 25th. So pick that up.
This episode is sponsored by Arcadia Comics. Is it Arcadia?
But also, some trivia, but some good trivia. Jeff Addis and Will Matthews, who are writers and essentially showrunners with Louis on the Netflix series, are responsible for the bones of the story in this new comic series. So don't worry,
cool.
everyone. It's in good hands. We're not going into Beneath the Dark Crystal territory.
Yeah, they wrote up the stories and outlines, so this is just as valid as this series. It's not going to go off into left field.
Oh, wow, that's good.
Thank God for that.
I was thinking today what would be great is, well, it's obviously not going to happen, but if it was like if they filmed a secret like Christmas special that came out at Christmas, where it was not part of the main story, just like a little like Gelfling version of Christmas gathering,
That would be adorable.
it would be so cute, and it'd be just like a 10-minute long thing or something. That would be so cute if they just did a little bonus thing.
I will be so disappointed if Stone in the Wood would not be Snow in the Wood. I would be so disappointed.
I would pay good money to see a Skeksis with a Christmas hat on.
Oh,
Oh my god, I need that.
You guys have all seen the Star Wars Christmas special. This is blasphemy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it needs to be as bad as that.
yeah. There needs to be a song.
Maybe Hup can be the star, and he can have his like Santa hat on, and he's in the Podling Village,
beard.
and they're like preparing Christmas presents. So that might be fun.
Oh my god, I need that.
Oh, the heretic and the wanderer coming out and telling the story of Christmas. That'd be amazing.
That'd be awesome.
With
Sorry about all this, Louis. I know you're listening.
We got surprises for you. Come on out. Come on. Hurry up. Come on. Come on.
Drawn up in the manger with Augur.
Oh, no.
Oh god.
No,
It's almost
Yeah.
so like I feel like with this show. I mean, I know we're talking about things here and there, but I still feel like out of breath. I feel like I don't really know where to begin in terms of processing what I'm seeing, except for just to watch it over. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've
Well,
forgotten so much
This
already.
year, I'm gonna
Yeah, I
watch
know,
the
right?
final episode, and then I reckon I'm just gonna want to watch it all over again. Can't wait.
For me, this series excels not at the grand set pieces, which are fantastic, but it's the smaller parts where it goes back to what made Dark Crystal so good. So little things like where you have the Skeksis huddled together, scheming in a dark room. Like I could literally watch, and it is all in the show. Like every episode has that moment where you're seeing them devolve just a little bit more, And I think what was so surprising for me was the new characters are just as good as the classics. Like there's nobody that's been reintroduced that I've just gone, that's really bad. Like they're all so good.
I think for me, a few weeks ago, when the video with like Rian and Gurjin was like, "Do you have a plan?" You know that part, and
Yeah.
I
You're
said
not
like,
gonna like it.
yes, but not gonna lie. Oh no, but back then I was like, oh my god, I'm so underwhelmed by Gurjin. But now, oh my god, I love him. He is amazing. He is such a meme. I love him.
Yeah, he's
I was-
awesome.
I
Oh,
didn't think
yeah,
I
he's
like
great.
him. Yeah, I love him. Do you know which random like side characters I really love? I think that there must be those minor characters that got ditched from the original film, that with the mouth sewn up. I'm like, oh,
The Gorant. Is it Gorant?
so sorry for
Oh,
them.
the Grunaks, yeah.
Brunak, yeah.
Yeah, they're so
Okay.
sad.
They're not, Ethan, they're not the miners, are they?
If anything, they're probably cousins to the Macrax, the miners.
Macrax.
I
yeah,
don't think
remember what the
they're.
name was, yeah.
I don't think they're
Quite
supposed to
similar,
be the miners themselves. But did you
Right.
notice that there's foreshadowing, I guess you could say, that the Grunaks, the Groton, and they're both mistaken as being extinct. Like Grunaks, weren't they all eradicated? Like, oh well, we found some.
Yeah.
Oh, the Grotons, I thought you were all
picked
dead.
that up so well,
Yes,
man.
I picked that up too. I was
didn't pick
texting.
that up at all. What have I been watching for the last day?
Well,
I didn't pick that up at all.
what's brilliant about it is the Skeksis think that they've eradicated, this race, and they haven't. So
Yeah.
that sort of sets up the world for like, who knows
Yeah.
who else is around besides Jen and Kira.
Exactly.
You know?
There's
Yeah,
a
true.
precedent for extinction mistakes. Like I thought they were all dead. Nope, wrong.
Definitely.
Yeah. I thought they were. I just love their design as well. I just like the fact. This thing that Age of Resistance doesn't shy away from the fact that Dark Crystal can get really dark. Like I was so worried that this was just going to be for kids. Like this was just going to be new
Yeah, no, it's
generation.
not.
Like it's going to be like Dark Crystal, the Muppets, but Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
And they just didn't shy away. It was like, the fact that you've got these two like the last of their species, and he's just sewn their mouth up. Like
Oh
he just
my
doesn't
God.
care. It's like, just I don't want to hear you speak. Just do as you're told. Slave.
That's just a piece of my heart just broke off.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
They just look so desperate to speak. It's like, at least let them speak to each other. It's so
It's so
cruel.
sad.
Oh.
But the question is, why would they need to sew their mouths shut? What is it about those creatures that their mouths need to be closed? That's my question.
Is there a secret that they've got?
Oh yeah, it says in the show, these are perfect slaves because they can't tell any secrets. They can't speak.
Oh, I see.
And they haven't mastered that art of draining and creating little slaves yet. They overdrain right now.
I mean,
Yeah,
again, that how many times in this series do we see the scientists drain Gelfling, and it's every time it just gets better and better. I know that sounds grim, but it's just brilliant to watch. It's just I could watch it all day. It's just brilliant telly.
Oh god, do you know what? I love the moment when you had Bria, Celadon, and Farah. It's Farah, isn't it? All strapped in, about to be drained, and I knew that they weren't going to get drained, but it was just the tension. I was like, no, I love that bit.
Yeah, true.
Oh god, it was so good.
You know, a couple times though, I like in periods of danger, like when they're taking Brea off to the castle, I was thinking, why don't y'all just fly away? And they don't.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but it's difficult. I think I was worried that it'd be the other way though, Jamie. I was worried that we'd have too much flying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they kind of limit it, and I think it makes for better telly. Like, I understand your point. Like,
for sure.
You know what I mean? Like in any instance, they could just jump out the window. Like, it wouldn't be a problem. But I think by limiting that, like when Dee and Rian are flying through the caves of Grot, like it's just such a great spectacle, and you see the lava, and it's just great. I mean, the levels that they've gone to use puppets as well, because like I watched the behind the scenes documentary before we came on here, and that's just as good as the series. To see them actually doing it.
Oh, I can't wait to watch that now. I've totally forgotten that I've got that to watch as well.
It's a good, like, almost 2 hours. It's really good. I mean...
Yeah, it's nice.
Oh, fantastic. Yes.
Yeah.
I wish they'd have done an episode for each episode, though, I have to admit.
Yeah. I mean, I know Trial by Stone, we're going to sort of do an after show for each episode, but I'm going to have to watch episodes again. Like, again, I can barely even process what I'm seeing. It's so emotional. I'm so distraught by everything, you know. But there's one moment though where Rian has Deet on it, like she's got his arms around him, and the camera pans in, and she's kind of her eye, like she's sort of out of it, and it's just amazing how much emotion is in that shot from this puppet.
Yeah, definitely.
I
think Fluffums are like my favourite new creature. Like, they are just brilliant. I could watch. I just love that the to and fro between the librarian and the Fluffums eating the books. Like, it's just brilliant. It's got so much. It's got so much of the heart of the original movie as well. Like, the original movie is dark in a lot of places, but also it has that real light, happy. You know, like the Podling Village, for example. Like, I never thought I'd see a naked podling. Like,
that little bum. So cute.
Also, from the Sifa clan, the Elder Kadia, when his memory is gone, I just love him with the hello.
Hello.
Oh, he's great. He's so much fun.
That was really funny.
I just wish we could have seen more of Onika and Tavra together, but that's just me being me. But
yeah, I expected her role to be bigger, to be honest, especially with as much promotion that the actress was giving for the show. She's
exactly.
kind of all over, and she has like 6 lines of dialogue, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about Natalie Dormer from Game of Thrones, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was quite surprised by that as well, because they pushed her right in the front.
It looked like she had a big part, but it was like really, like what you said, the 6 sentences, and yeah, that's it. Bye.
I was actually quite surprised we didn't see more of the other clans. Obviously, it's kind of like maybe we will see more of them in the future. But
they gotta save stuff for the future, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, if season 2 is Gartham Wars, it's on. Like, we're gonna see all Gelflings sort of coalesce together. I can't even imagine what that's gonna be like.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's gonna be sad.
We see now they've built a Gartham, so they must be pretty confident that they're going to do more, because there's a Gartham in the Vision, isn't there? So they've built one.
In the Vision, yes. In the Vision with with Brea holding baby. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You see one running around in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that Gartham, its eyes dart around, its move around. We're going to see some surprises in season 2. They're not going to be the Gartham from the movie. The original Gartham, their eyes did not dart around like that. That was so cool to me.
Yeah.
They're scanning around.
These Gartham are going to be like vicious, fast killers. as opposed to the slower, like
Yeah.
we haven't been doing too much.
Well, I mean, yeah,
podling.
I mean, I suppose it makes sense if you're just catching podlings. You don't really need to be that quick because, like we've seen,
most of them are
just
drunk
smash it.
anyways.
You just smash through the house and just pick them up.
Yeah, I think when the Gartham do get made, I think they'll be a lot more out of control initially because it looks like the scientist is starting with the spiders to sort of make it from that, and I reckon they'll be a lot more wild and vicious. I'd imagine at first, not as under control as the ones that we know.
Thing I wanted to ask about everybody is what you thought of the actors who voiced the Skeksis compared to the originals.
It was different, but I didn't. Okay, so controversial statement. Here we go. I didn't dig Mark Hamill, and I felt like his scientist voice changed in the last couple episodes, and that kind of threw me off too. It's almost as if he forgot how to do the voice. Forgot what he was doing. Did you notice that too? It was deeper and less
He has kind of an accent in the first couple of episodes as well. Like it's kind of like I don't know what it is. He's kind of got like he puts like an accent on, and then as like you said, as it starts going on, it's less and less, and it's more just like Mark Hamill.
It was almost phoned in, yeah. Like he's dead. Yeah. I'm like, what? Did you forget what you were doing?
I think it's safe to say Simon Pegg has absolutely nailed Chamberlain.
Wow, he was amazing.
Like you can't trace Simon Pegg in that voice at all. It's amazing.
Like it doesn't. It's impeccable. I'm such a big fan of Barry Dennen, who did the original voice. And when they announced Simon Pegg, I was like, really? Are you actually kidding me? Simon Pegg? Like Scotty from Star Trek? Like, what the hell? Like, there's no way he's going to be able to do it. And then he's literally pretty much exactly the same. Like,
yeah, but he's gotten, like, what you think with Mark Hamill, like, I feel bad for saying getting worse, quotation marks, but Simon Pegg, he was just getting better with each episode.
Agreed.
But the reality is, for me, I'm so engrossed in the story, I don't even think about their voices. It doesn't even faze me.
Yeah, that's true. I think I'm with Ethan in the fact that I think when I watched episode 1 for the first time, Mark Hamill's voice like jumps out at you because it's so different to Steve Whitmire's. But I wonder if they're going to go down the route of maybe tailoring his voice to more like Steve Whitmire's as the series progresses, because we know that Skektek the scientist, this is not a spoiler really, but like in the book it says he not only does he do tests on the crystal, he slowly starts to do tests on himself. So I wonder if they will start to change that, and maybe he will do more of an impression rather than his own take.
Yeah, possibly.
Go ahead.
I think he kind of. I don't know if I was imagining it, but there was a bit with the Emperor where I think he was just sort of in pain, and his voice went a bit more like the film Emperor. So I thought that's quite good. That
When they're trying to resurrect the hunter.
Yeah,
he starts to do the like.
I thought that was really cool. That it shows that that's what he degenerates into, which is quite good.
And it's such a cool explanation because everybody, for 40 years has been asking, well, why is the Emperor dying and not the rest of them?
Yeah.
Now we know. So that is very, very clever. And when the Emperor shows the general his little darkening spot, that sounded weird. I was like, oh, how freaking clever that this is why he degenerated far faster than anyone else, because he's exposing himself straight to that radiation, that darkening.
Also, I think it instantly explains to everybody why they fear him. how come this, because when you look at him, he's not the biggest Skeksis there, but he's like he says that thing. He says, "Just remember, there's nothing I wouldn't do," and it's just like he's like this maniac.
Yeah,
like,
there's an insidiousness to him that the
Yeah.
others don't have. I mean, the general is certainly seems kind of out of control, but the emperor, there's something sick about him, like something dark, dark.
Without a doubt, he's like he will stop at nothing to get what he wants.
Yeah,
and it goes
without a quirk or something. He's the only one that's really sort of his mind is focused. All the rest of them, they're kind of easily distracted and bickering and stuff, whereas he's just very single-minded.
Yeah, I just love that. I love that bit in the first episode where Skektek says to him, "Oh, I haven't found a solution to the problem. I can't do this." And he grabs hold of him, and he says, I built this empire. I'm not going to watch it crumble into dust." Like he's so adamant that he's going to keep hold of his power. Like he will literally do anything, like any good tyrant.
Also, I've asked myself since I was a kid, why didn't the Skeksis just off the Emperor in his bed? And to me, Age of Resistance answered it by saying because the Emperor for 1,000 years was supportive, loyal to them too. The way you look at the Emperor and he will do anything in his power to get to save the Hunter's life, and that's why he's like, drain every freaking Gelfling in the country. We're gonna save him. He will not die. We're not gonna die. No one's gonna die here. So when the Emperor's dying, no one's gonna to snap his neck or poison him. They're horrified that he's dying, and they're just waiting. They're not gonna betray him.
Yeah, as much as they hate one another, like their survival is utmost. That's all they care about. Like, yeah, it goes back to the thing that you said. Like, he will do anything to keep the Skeksis alive, and I suppose they won't ever. It's kind of like a respect thing, isn't it? Like he's even when he's in his dying his bed, like if they've been through all that together, even though they despise each other, like they despise Gelfling more.
Really adds a dimension to the Skeksis as a people, as a race. Like, yes, they're pure evil. They're the other half of an Urskek, but you look at the Emperor and his loyalty to the rest of them. You look at the Heretic, and he's not anything different than the rest of the Skeksis. He just came to a conclusion and decided, I want to be different. He's still a Skeksis through and through. He didn't take a magic potion and suddenly, you know what, I'm better now. He's still a Skeksis. So there's a dimension to the Skeksis that excites me to no end. I can't even get that across.
Didn't you just love that bit when the Heretic and Ergo say about how for every day that we're apart, like we are in constant pain? Like I didn't even think of like that they would like that it would hurt not to be a whole person. And the fact that they're every day, the longer they're apart, the more pain they're in.
Well, let me share something with you. So when I spoke with executive producer and writer Jeff Addis, and I said I thought it was a waste that Creation Myths killed 2 Skeksis and 2 Mystics. Is that canon? He said absolutely. And he told me, to me, that showed the pain and the trauma of the division. When they woke up, they were horrified and scared that they were no longer whole. They were no longer an entire person, and they freaked out and they killed themselves. And I never saw it that way. To me, I just looked at it from a lore perspective. The writers, they saw it from a human perspective, that emotional dimension, and they put that into the story. The Heretic and the Wanderer, they feel pain every single day for 1,000 years, not being an entire person, and just being in the same room together is the best that they can do. And I never thought of that before. That's incredible to me.
It is. like how you explain it, yeah.
Well, yeah, they're not two people. They're one person, one being that has been split apart. And so there's this psychological trauma, this physical trauma every day. And it kind of explains why the Skeksis are the way they are, because they're trying to cover that pain. And the Mystics are always in pain. And that, to me, is shocking. I was like, oh, wow, you know?
I'm really glad that they covered that. It's just such a really interesting take on it, because I've always thought about, you know, what they can remember, whether they long to be holding. It was, yeah, I really liked that, the fact that they do want to get back to their original form again. Very cool.
And I love that ambiguity of what happens when a Skeksis and a Mystic dies. Do they come together or do they rend further apart? And they don't answer that question. You know, it's up in the air. You know, what happens to Skek Tech when he dies in the film? What happens to, you know, everybody? You know, we see 8 come back to their Urskek form in the film. What happened to the other 10? That is incredible to me.
I also loved the bit where it was the Emperor and the General in the darkening room, and I think it was the Generals asked about, do you have any memories of like the old times? I think the Emperor was like, don't talk about that or something. I love that whole concept of like, what do they remember? What do they remember the home world? Do they remember the retained memories when they were whole?
Yeah, and he says it comes back to them in a nightmare.
Yes, yeah.
He's like, I try not to think about it, and he's like, and sometimes it'll just come into my mind. And then he says, "What a dream!" And he says, "No, a nightmare." A great adding to the lore again.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, folks, we've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes. I'd say we call it a wrap, and then we can obviously talk again once we've all digested everything more, because I feel like we're sort of all over the place, but of course we are. Like yesterday, like after I watched 5 episodes and I took like a 6-hour break, I was like, I just can't do this right now. Like it's so much, like it really is, and it's not just draining, it's like it's kind of draining all the emotion. Like it's like you're just I was
pun intended.
Like I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh yeah.
Well, I went to bed with a bloodshot eye, and it's still there now. That's how bad I am.
Oh wow!
But my body is failing me.
I'm gonna finish it after this.
Yeah, I'll probably watch 1 episode before work tonight.
I'm gonna end it. Woo!
Yeah, we'll convene again once we've all seen it, and I think probably in about a week or so, or we'll have more thoughts, you know, just because there's just so much.
Yeah, true.
I think we started well with episode 1, and then it went all over the place after that.
Our minds are a mess.
Yes. Well, people,
it's
experience.
Well, people, thanks for listening to the Heretic Surprise. Stay tuned till next time.
Oh no.
More wonder. More
what happened to
wonder.
the nearsighted Nebri?
Good night.
All right. Sleep well, Brits and Roxy.
Yes.
Guys.
Good day.
All right. Thanks for talking to you guys. Really appreciate it.
Cheerio.
All right.
Yeah, thank
Talk to
you.
soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.